What's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
I'm
And
Jason.
this is Liquid Carnage. What's up, buddy?
Oh, nothing, man. I'm just trying to beat the heat, buddy. Trying to beat the heat.
All right, aren't we all? I tell you what, it's like it went from being cool and miserable to they just flipped a switch. I'm starting to adjust right now because we've been in the mid 90s all week, so it's been nicer for me to be able to go outside and do things and not feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. But that heat is coming. That'll be here in a few weeks. It's just there's at least some preparation for it, you know.
Yeah, we've had a constant 108, 110 the whole week.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But we are in Phoenix, so
yeah,
what do you expect?
The Southwest, we are not known for our cooler temps. This is something that we just have to deal with, you know. Make sure you hydrate, keep your dogs indoors, keep water around them, keep them cool, give them shade, and don't put your pets or your kids and leave them in the car unless the car is running with a sign that says they're listening to a cool album with the AC on full blast.
Or they're listening to Liquid
Carnage, absolutely.
With air conditioning at full blast.
But yeah. I do want to urge any parents out there listening, don't do that with your kids. This does have the parental advisory on it if you do look at our iTunes account. So it's okay for your dogs. They're fine. Just make sure the air conditioning's on full blast and your dogs are enjoying Liquid Carnage. And occasionally you can hear your dogs and mine chime in with a fantastic guest spot.
That's right.
Yeah. So, funny story today. Before we get to today's topic, I got a random text from our buddy Bruce, my college roommate. It's funny that, you know, Bruce and I, we don't talk very often. We might say things here and there, but it's mostly just like shitty comments, making fun of each other, just to let each other know that we're alive, right?
Okay.
And today he sent me one that said, I didn't realize how much that I enjoy the song Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit.
I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of it, but it's a generational song, so you might be a little old for it.
I'm a lot old.
You're probably a lot old for it, but it was the song of the year we graduated 20 years ago, in the summer of 1999. It was a hit on Limp Bizkit's Significant Other album, and he hated it back then. Bruce hated Limp Bizkit back then. So part of the fun for me is that I really enjoyed it. I was a very big rap metal fan back in the day. I know it's a big shocker. But he has grown into actually liking that song, Break Stuff. And I had to let him know that song is what middle age is all about. Some days you just want to break stuff.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. See, it was really giving us an anthem 20 years too soon. Now when I hear it, it's like, yeah, I really relate to where he's coming from on this.
Oh, that is too funny how it comes full circle, my friend.
It does. You know, it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a Weezer song. It could have been a Tool song. But it's Limp Bizkit, so it's not that bad. And that was a shot at our executive producer, Tom.
For 1999, it could have been Live and La Vida Loca.
Oh, that's right, man. That came on my Amazon Music this morning. I was getting ready for work. And that was a flashback. Like, holy hell.
Oh, heck yeah, man.
Holy
20 years. That's a 20-year-old song now.
Yeah, I know, right? My 20-year union is next month. And I'm on the fence if I want to go or not, to be honest with you.
Oh, Scott, don't you think that all the people of Kingman High want to see the legend? Meet the legend?
If they want to see the legend, I don't know if the legend's going to be there, but I might show up.
Oh, shoot. You are the legend,
I don't know,
man. When the class of 99 talks, all they can mention is Scott Kern.
I doubt that very much. I wasn't exactly Mr. Popular in high school. I'm not exactly Mr. Popular now. But, you know, I was a wee bit quieter back then. I didn't come out of my shell till about halfway through my junior year.
Okay.
So,
but now look at you.
Look at me.
Like you're the success story of 99. Anywho.
Well, I appreciate that. How was your weekend? What did you guys do?
We went down to celebrate Father's Day with Noreen's father.
Oh, okay.
He is celebrating his 67th Father's Day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is intense.
Yeah, he's though. He's really old.
Yeah, well, yeah. I wouldn't say it to his face, but I'm sure at this point he knows that too, you know.
Oh, yeah, no. He's flat out said, if I make it to 90, we're having a big party next year. I went, well, we're kind of stuck because we want a big party. We need to know you make it first before we can do it.
Yeah, you got to pick a lane, pal. If you want to make it, you got to tell us because we'll plan it. But I'm going to be pissed if I spend money on this cake and you're not there to eat it.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
Oh, I tell you what, man. Yeah, it was a nice Father's Day weekend. I went and spent some time with my dad. My parents adopted a new dog. They got a rescue dog this weekend, so we're trying to get him adjusted to the new lay of the land, if you were. So it was actually a pretty quiet weekend. I did watch a movie though that I thought was pretty interesting.
Oh, what'd you watch?
I watched The Mule, that Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh, that was good, huh?
Yeah, for those that haven't seen it or don't know what it is, it's a Clint Eastwood movie that he directed, and he's 87, 88 years old. So.
No, he's actually the same age as Noreen's dad. He's 89 this year.
Is he 89?
Yeah.
Okay. Either way, Clint Eastwood is old.
He is old.
And he probably should have retired a long time ago, because that movie, it was a good story, but that movie moved at the pace of him, which is not fast at all.
And that's hard for Scott. For those listeners who don't know Scott very well, slow pace is not his thing.
Well, I think slow pace is hard for anyone in this movie. I mean, it was a good story, but it just moved at a very slow pace. But for those that haven't seen it, basically it's a story of a 90-year-old man who starts running drugs for the cartels because he has a perfect driving record, and he doesn't get caught. So no one expects to be a 90-year-old white guy running drugs for the Mexican cartels. So he's he's back and forth from his home to Chicago and back, and the DEA is trying to figure out who this mule is that nobody's catching, and the entire time he's sliding by. So it's a pretty good story, and it got me to thinking. It said it was based on true events. How true was it? So I did some research.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, exactly. So I want that to be noted. That I did some research on the notes, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, the executive producer better catch that, because Scott's more of the fly off the cusp kind of radio talent.
Yeah, I'm going to wing it 9 times out of 10, but this is that one time that I figured, you know what? I want to know more. Let me see what I can find. And what I found was sometimes the truth is much cooler than the actual story. And that's what happened here. I mean, this is an interesting story all in itself, but the true story just blew my mind. It blew my freaking mind. So before I get into this, I want you to hit us up with any cool movies you've seen so far this summer. Hit us up at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Liquid Carnage. If you want to give Tom a shout out for what movie he should see this summer, hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and Instagram. On with the show. So the research I did found out that this is pretty interesting, because in the movie itself, and I'm going to give away some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. It's on DVD, it's on Blu-ray, whatever.
Hey, you've given a spoiler alert. That movie's been out for over a year. You've given a spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's fine. If you haven't seen it, go rent it. But basically, it looks like that this guy only ran, in the movie, he only ran like 12 runs of drugs. And that wasn't the case. This guy did it for 10 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, he ran drugs for 10 years. And in the story, from what I could tell, it looks like he was based in Texas, and he went to Texas to Chicago and back. But in reality, he went all over the country. He was based in a town called Michigan City, Indiana. And it was true. He did get in the movie, he was told to give someone a call from someone at his granddaughter's wedding reception or engagement party. Here, it was one of the illegals he had working for him on his horticulture or on his farm, because he was a horticulturist. So this guy's world famous, or was world famous, for his flowers that he created. He's a World War II vet that, once he got out, spent his career basically creating new species of flowers that people would come in the busloads from that have an interest in that world to see his farm and buy his flowers. He had planted flowers in the White House for George H.W. Bush in the Rose Garden. I mean, this guy was just famous. And when the economy started to turn, one of his workers suggested that, hey, you could do this. And he was in his early 80s at that point. So he figured, why not? And he spent the next 10 years running cocaine, heroin, guns, and cash for the Sinaloa cartel all over the country. And
was he making bank too?
Yeah, no one suspected a thing. So finally, when he gets caught, he goes in front of the judge, and he does plead guilty. And he had a $500,000 fine. And that fine he offered to pay instead of in lieu of cash, he offered to grow $100,000 worth of papayas to help distribute those throughout the country because he felt that the country needed a sweet fruit like that to enjoy. And when he was finally sentenced, he only spent a year in prison and was released because of old age and dementia, so he could live out his days with his family.
So don't you think that would have been a better story then than what they produced?
Yeah, I kind of do. I know they had to condense it and make it an hour and a half, 2 hours, but the entire story, like the nuances that this guy had, like going to court instead of just pleading guilty and having that moment, it's kind of comical if you think about it, to offer to grow $500,000 worth of papaya.
Well, because part of me is like, what is the federal government going to do with the cash, right? I mean, they're not going to like give it back to the people. It's just going to go into the little.
The DEA took it, they confiscated it, they bought more toys with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So just reading about what happened to this guy and how he lived his life, because it was just the fact that he was a very famous horticulturist in that field, and people would come by the busloads to buy his flowers, blew my mind. Like, he was an award-winning person in his field, been to the White House, done all the cool things that we could only dream of doing a podcast for the president at some point. This guy was doing this stuff in his field. And then for the economy to drop out and for him to start running drugs and money and guns and never be suspected. He was in cartels. El Tata is what they called him.
Tata.
Yeah. Yeah, they said the cartel, he was spoken of throughout all the cartels. Everyone knew who he was, but no one thought he really existed. He was literally a ghost.
So how did he get caught? Did it say how he got caught?
And that's where it kind of gets hazy. It didn't really get into the details about how he got caught. He got caught right outside of his home, his town that he's based out of. It sounds like that from what the movie said, is they had an informant that was able to get the books and they could start tracking the paths and whatever else, and they just did basic detective work and just caught him. But they said the guy who tracked him for years and had no idea it was an old guy. Nobody did. They were all blown away.
Well, and maybe they had to alter the story because we've talked about before, the stories have to have that sense of stress, or, they all follow the same, boy meets girl thing. So maybe the story in its whole entirety wasn't that exciting. And so, but the basis of the story was good enough to at least get the story kickstarted. However, it sounds like from your research, they could have given more of the backlog of this guy, and maybe, and it would have not took away from the movie, but actually added to it.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain aspects I think that really could have just added some more layers to the character. And I mean, basically it was a redemption story for Clint Eastwood's character, is what it came down to. But I just feel like some of the nuances in there, and the fact that this went on for 10 years, they made this sound like it happened over a course of a few months. But clearly, I think being able to evade the authorities and be able to work for a cartel for that long, I think in itself is its own stories. At least you can highlight some of the closer calls, and maybe that's what they did with the way they structured it. But I feel like it could have been a little more in detail with the time.
Well, it gets me thinking, though, because a lot of times, like, I just got done watching the documentary, the Ken Burns documentary on the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And in history, in the Civil War, they talk about all these major battles, which are like the highlights of a year of life, right?
Yeah.
But most of the time, they were just marching, or they were just making a camp, or they were just digging. And so, these stories are exciting because we're only fascinating to them by the highlights of events that happen that culminate, let's say a year of activity for this moment. Yeah. And then, but the rest of the time it's kind of boring. It's, people showering and, I don't know, people doing normal things.
Well, it's kind of like Zero Dark 30, when they made that movie a few years back, they made it sound like it was a very exciting ploy to catch and kill Osama bin Laden. But at the same point, you realize all the background work that went into that. It was probably a lot of just sitting and analysis, hours upon hours, years upon years.
Well, yeah, they took 7 years of time and condensed it into 2 hours.
Yeah, and that's crazy when you think about it. And at least with something like that, it was fresh enough in American culture where you could look at the time frame and say, all right, so they're just trying to tell the story in 2 hours, but this really went on for years of just trying to, locate and do all the other, analytical stuff that the CIA does.
Yeah. And we as a culture like the bullet. Just give us the bullet points. Just give us the straight and narrow. Don't give us all the minutia of, the analyst sat for 3 months in a room and watched computer screens all day, and then they moved to this building and sat there for 3 months. It's like I don't need to know all that. I get the gist. They studied a lot.
Yeah, they watched them. They wanted
them.
to make sure they knew. They wanted to study the patterns. But so through all this, I spent some time just going through trying to find the different movies that were based on true events versus the true stories, if you were. And The Hills Have Eyes, that horror movie, was based on true events, but I couldn't really get any research on what happened there.
Wait. The Hills Have Eyes was based on a real story?
That's what was on the website I found.
Well, now, is there this? You can probably answer this. I don't know. Is there a distinction between based on a true story and based on real events?
I think so, and that's what started me looking into all this. I think based on true events is like, oh, that's cool. This happened. Let's take a story and let's build a story off of what happened there. When a true life story is when you literally follow this person's story.
So based on a true story means this actually happened to this person. I embellished a little bit, but this is what happened to the person.
But you're using real names and places, where like in the Mule's case, they took a story and they changed the names, they changed the locations, and they kind of punched it up a little bit. But the gist of the story was the same, but it wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. There was a movie, I can't remember. Oh no, there was a movie that they had where it said based on real events. The names have been changed to protect the guilty, but the story is accurate to protect the innocent, or something like that. Or
wasn't that Dragnet?
No, it wasn't Dragnet. It was. It'll come to me some later, but it was just funny. If you look at the opening credits, it's based on a true story. The names have been changed to protect the victim or to protect the criminals, but the story is the same to protect the victims or something like that.
Doesn't Law and Order do something like that? Don't they base a lot of their shows off of true?
Yeah, Law and Order does them like on current things that happen. Like they take stuff that happened in the news in the last couple of weeks and they write a story on it.
It's crazy. So, so like I said, The Hills Have Eyes, based on a true event. I haven't been able to find that one yet. I haven't spent a lot of time looking into it. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on Ed Gein, the serial killer.
Interesting.
So for those I can't talk tonight. For those who do not know who Ed Gein is, he was a serial killer back in, I want to say, the 40s or 50s in Milwaukee, who lived with his mother. His mother passed away, and he basically kidnapped people and turned their skin into faces and like a bodysuit, and would make furniture out of the skin. And his cauldron that he would cook all the people down with is actually cursed and in the Haunted Museum up in Las Vegas. So it's a pretty cool thing if you ever get a chance to go see it.
Well, wasn't the story of Goodfellas, that was based on a true story, right?
I think so, or true events. Casino was based on a true story.
Casino is based on a true story. Goodfellas is based on true events.
Yeah, so that's where it's embellished and all that.
I think the thing on either of those, though, is that, and we talked about it before, that sometimes I find the stories that are based on true life things happening are more interesting than these made up movies where it's just so ridiculous that that could never happen.
Exactly. And I sometimes, I don't know, I was going with that. I just had a complete brain lock.
The heat's getting to you, buddy.
The heat's getting to me. Yeah, this is the second time this week I've gotten close to heat stroke, so maybe I should sit in air conditioning a little bit longer before we try to record. But it's
that's there's to it, buddy. You're a beast now, so you're working out, becoming a stud. Your life might be a true story based on true events.
Oh man, if they're going to condense 38 years, plus into like 2 hours, I hope they pick the highlights.
Yeah, I don't think I've done enough in my life to be able to create a movie as of yet.
No, I don't think I've done that much either. I've had some entertaining moments, but it's like maybe a pilot for a sitcom, and then you could just take off from there. But that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that. We kind of have a sitcom now.
Yeah,
we're almost ready for syndication.
I think so. It's 100 episodes for syndication, so we're past syndication. We should be well onto our way into radio stations all over the country, but we just haven't gotten that far yet, or we just haven't been discovered. I think that's the key.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Either way, though, it was an interesting. Just kind of wrap up the story. It was an interesting movie to watch. To me, the actual story of this guy was way more interesting than the movie, and maybe it's because Clint Eastwood should retire altogether. He looks old. He looks like my grandpa before my grandpa passed. He looks old. He moves slow, and it's just sometimes you gotta know when to hang him up.
Hey man, if you listen to my mom, you don't stop, because as long as you're breathing, you're living.
That's it. Livein, living.
Living. That's right. That's right.
Man,
yeah. What would you call your true life story, buddy?
Well, I'm hoping by the time it gets made, you can actually have some kind of profanity in the title. So,
like if it was a TV show, maybe an HBO or Netflix.
Yeah,
call it.
Fuck.
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, that's how you say it, like that. Fuck.
Oh no, I've got a name, buddy.
What's that?
What it is.
It is what it is.
That's your name right there. It is what it is.
That's the name. That would be the name of my show. It is what it is.
Mine's going to be called Throat Punch.
Yeah, Throat Punch. And they'd be spinoffs, though. They'd be in the same universe.
That's true.
True. There'd be crossovers all the time.
And we talked about this. Who would play you in the movie?
Mm-hmm. Fuck, man. I've been compared to the guy from McSteamy. And Blake Shelton. I get that a lot.
Is that who played that guy? Is Patrick Dempsey?
No, that was the other one. That was
McDreamy. I don't know who McSteamy is then.
It was the other guy. I mean, there's some lesbians that worked at Maverick, the gas station I always go to, that would always say that. So I have to go look it up, and I forget the guy's name.
Hey, one thing, I guess maybe one thing that it should be important for all of us to remember is, live a life like you're trying to make a movie.
Yes, that's a good point. Who was going to play you in yours? I forget.
I thought it was going to be Kevin James, but I can't remember.
Yeah, like Kevin James from Hitch, or like Kevin James from The King of Queens?
Oh. More.
See, because I feel like maybe an Oscar performance by Jonah Hill could be you.
Oh, Jonah Hill, you think? Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad. That wouldn't be too bad.
I think so. I think that'd be great. So maybe we can talk to Channing Tatum, see if he wants to play me. They could do like a 21 Jump Street reboot with Liquid Carnage.
Yeah, we could get Seth. We could get Seth Rogen to play JP.
Rogen? Oh, no, he talks too much.
Would that be good? We get Ed Norton to play Dean.
Oh, that would be. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, that'd be hilarious. It'd be fun.
Yeah,
it's fun to dream about those things. So, who would play you in the story of you? Up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. And who would play Tom? Hit us up and hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and Instagram. And I am curious to see who would play Tom. I really don't know who would play Tom.
Yeah,
it'd have to be a character actor.
Yeah, it would have to be someone that was hip, kind of a smart guy, that had like that little bit of quirkiness to him, but was also a badass.
What about like Giovanni Ribisi?
Oh yeah. Oh, I like that one a lot. Yeah, Giovanni Ribisi.
You know, I think that'd pay a nice homage to him and get him to put a nice compliment on the notes about us with his stuff.
I'm totally game for that. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, So here's to hoping that maybe one day someone makes the Liquid Carnage movie, and that's who stars Tom, Jason.
Oh gosh, and they'll make a story about a podcast that started 3 years ago and became an internet sensation with millions of hits, and we'll talk about all the friends that brought us there. You know,
the little podcast that could.
I love it.
That won't be a tagline. That won't be a tagline. We could do better.
Yeah, we got to work on that. We definitely have to work on that, though, because it can't just be like something lame. It's got to be good.
Oh, yeah. Like I think that is perfect. In fact, why that's not on a T-shirt is just our own ignorance. I know.
Wow, this I think that I think this episode got away from us a little bit, though. We were talking about the Mule, and next thing you know, now we're talking about a movie deal that we're going to have for Liquid Carnage.
Well, listen, the rate we're going, Clint Eastwood's going to play one of us, so it's going to be really slow. So
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
He'll be 100. He'll be 130 and playing me at 50. He's pretty old, man. If he farts, he's going to have a stroke. It's terrible. I just think. And that's the one thing about this movie. You could tell that because he threw some scenes in there where he had to go meet the Mexican cartel down in Mexico, and he banged these 2 hot hookers that the cartel. It was like only Clint Eastwood would do that at 90 years old. Good for him.
Hey,
good for him.
Hey, they need loving too.
That's true. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that was one of those. This is crucial for them. I have to get laid by these 2 hookers to really drive home the cartel.
Yeah, it's not very likely. Let's augment a little bit. I mean, if I remember correctly, the girls were kind of cute.
Yeah,
and Bruce would approve. I think Bruce would approve.
I think so. So yeah, you're right. This kind of got away from us this week, but still, it was a fun episode. It's a summer episode. Summers are meant to be fun and light and enjoying ourselves. So
sometimes life is not all crazy and fun doing that. Sometimes life is talk.
Exactly, talk radio, almost NPR-esque. So with that being said, why don't you take us home, Jason?
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. We really appreciate you as always. That was Scott. I am Jason. And if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Carnage.